So I've been playing and reviewing Game Boy homebrew games for a good few years now, but it's always felt like just a small subsection of the gaming landscape. So I was really surprised to see an announcement from Crunchyroll last year to say that they were actually making a brand new Game Boy game based on their mascot character. It was published by Limited Run and my copy finally turned up the other day. I was so intrigued to see what a homebrew game with a proper budget and team would be like compared to all of the other games that I've played so far. So let's begin with an unboxing and then we'll take a look at the game itself. So first of all, I have to say I absolutely love the artwork on this game. It just looks incredible. It really made me very excited to check out the full game. I love the colour scheme as well, and of course Crunchyroll is great at doing their different titles, and the way they express themselves is so fun and so anime, and I love it on the back here as well. Can you defeat Y2K? And it explains a little bit about the game there, and a few really nice and colourful screenshots that give you a good idea as to what's to come in the game itself. As you can see, the game was actually made by a studio called Poppyworks, and they've actually made a few other really cool retro-inspired games as well. Inside the box it came with this really nice little fold-out poster here, and of course, just like all the other limited run releases, a really nice high-quality cartridge too. I love this really light blue colour as well. It fits the theme really nicely, and it looks really nice in the Game Boy Color too. And of course, as every good homebrew game has, it also has a full colour instruction manual. And I love the artwork in this. You can really tell that a lot of budget and time and attention to detail went into crafting this. It looks almost official, it really does. So this is a nice little way to introduce you to all of the different characters and a bit about the story in the game, and some of the items and characters that you'll find throughout the journey too. And I love the fact that they put some artwork in the back here as well, so you can see some of the concept art in this gallery here. And if you are interested in checking out any of the people that worked on the game, then here's the credits in the back of the manual. And now with the unboxing out of the way, let's see what the game's all about. So the game begins with Hime and her friends from the anime club watching an episode on a CRT, when something happens outside and a monster appears out of nowhere. Their TV is destroyed, and looking out of the window you can see a forest that didn't exist before. This is the setup to the game, and it's great. It really carries a lot of intrigue throughout the entire game. So as you explore the surrounding area, you'll actually discover that there's more areas that have been taken over by this glitch in the system. It's a really cool way of making a relatively small map have lots of different areas and themes. So after a little bit of walking around, you bump into someone lost in the woods, and as a reward they give you the sword, and from there the game begins properly. From here, the game plays out like a classic Zelda adventure, with real-time combat, towns to visit, and of course lots of people to meet and problems to solve. And even a few dungeons to conquer too. It really does feel like a love letter to the Oracle Zelda games, along with a heavy dose of nerd culture on top. As you're playing throughout the game, you'll have to keep several different quests in mind. Some of the things that you find out early on will have solutions much later on in the game, so keep a note of everything that anyone asks you to solve, because it will definitely help and alleviate some of that backtracking later on in the game. I was actually pretty thorough on my quest, so sometimes I just had to speak to the same person twice and instantly solve the puzzle without having to backtrack at all. The game follows the typical Zelda formula of going to dungeons and exploring the overworld. The dungeons themselves are quite short, and the majority of the game is actually spent solving people's problems in the overworld and figuring out a way of moving from one area to another. The navigation between the areas is made easier thanks to the train stations that you unlock dotted around the various locations. The dungeons themselves are all very simple, with mostly just push-block puzzles and rooms of enemies to kill in exchange for keys. And that was really my main complaint about the game. There wasn't really any dungeon-specific items, and they were all extremely easy to navigate. The only difficulty that I had was dying at the bosses a few times and not having saved beforehand, so I would actually need to redo the entire dungeon to get back to that point. I don't feel comfortable dodging bullets with such a big sprite. Oh no, I walked straight into that one. Oh no, how much do I need to do? Oh, do I need to do the whole thing again? I'm sorry guys. Bear with me while we traverse the entire dungeon all over again because I'm an idiot. The dungeon designs though are so fun, and even the music inside the dungeons is great too. And all the different NPCs that you meet throughout the game are full of charm and just the right amount of humour that you expect from an anime company like Crunchyroll. The writing and the characters are what really made the game for me. One of my favourite parts was exploring this gamer house and the interactions here with all the different people who lived there. Gamer! Man, I sure love this new update for Craft War. I don't know why it's getting poor reviews, it literally works totally fine on my PC. Gamer! Man, I hate this new update for Craft War, it barely runs on my system. I think people giving it good reviews don't know what a decent game is. Relatable. Non-gamer. Life is just so pleasant, you know, the air is fresh, the food tastes so good, and grass feels so nice to touch. I feel like my roommates are always so angry and I'm not sure why. And I was just so impressed by how official this game feels. Although it was made in GB Studio, which is an engine that I've covered extensively on this channel in the past, there's almost none of the usual signs of the engines here. It's all polished to perfection. Take things like the 8-directional movement, which feels incredibly fluid, as well as the real-time sword attack combat, as well as all the other items, like the jump-in mechanic, and the boomerang and shooting arrows, and all sorts of things like that. It all feels so good to play. The one downside, I will say though, and this is probably a limitation of the engine, is the fact that the hitboxes are maybe a little bit too big, and it's kind of a shame that the enemies don't have any knockback, which means that the real-time combat, although impressive considering the engine that it's built on, isn't really the most fun to actually play, and it can be a little bit frustrating at times. The boss fights at the end of the dungeons in particular are all really intricately detailed, and they all have really interesting and unique mechanics too. They're definitely a highlight of the game for me, and it was so cool to see all the attention to detail put into these fights. I was very impressed overall. Something else I really enjoyed was the incredible soundtrack by Protodome. Honestly, this is some of the best and most catchy chiptune soundtracks on the entire system. The overworld music just made me so happy, in a Final Fantasy adventure kind of way. Even the dungeon music went way harder than it needed to. And you'll be glad to know that although it's a limited run game, it is still in print and you can actually order it on Crunchyroll's website, so definitely go ahead and check it out if you like what you saw in this video. And if you want to see me play through the entire game, I actually streamed my entire journey through this game over on Twitch and I had a fantastic time, and so did everyone watching, so check the link down below to follow me on Twitch if you want to see me playing through more homebrew games in the future, like Melon Journey, as well as a bunch of other retro games too. And let me know down in the comments below whether you've played this game or whether you plan to. That's it for now, thank you so much for watching. If you want more homebrew reviews, then click up here and check out all of the videos in this playlist.